let's talk about where we agree and where I have not been shy about giving you credit. It's like, hey man, JB for 2 or 3 years been coming on the show and on his own show saying, hey, quarterback play is at an all-time low. And JB was a guy that 2 or 3 years ago was coming on our show and saying, hey man, Patrick Mahomes is overrated. It's blah blah blah. And it's not that I'm ready to go there with you with Patrick Mahomes, but I have been like consistently saying, hey man, JB was right. The quarterback play is at an all-time low. And so here's what I did, and here's the conversation that fits me and my audience that may not perfectly fit JB and what he likes to talk about in his audience. But I've gone to like, hey man, all of this emphasis on diversity and black quarterback and all of these changes that I feel like they've made to make quarterback play easier so that they can meet the quotas that they need to serve their diversity goals. So this whole, and so that's, I looked at 2018. I only went that far back in terms of just making my point of like, hey man, look at how it's devolved just in 7 years. That in 2000, there's 19 guys throwing for 250 yards or more per game that started at least 8 games, and now we're down to 5. And I'm saying, and then let's call up the graphic where I pointed out the top teams this year, top records, and then if there were tiebreakers in terms of records, we went to point differential, and I showed you the quarterbacks and the teams that are having the most success. And again, this gets me blasted. This gets me called an Uncle Tom and a coon. But these guys started out the year talking about 16 quarterbacks. Our starting quarterbacks are going to be black guys in the NFL this year. And look at how much progress we've made. And black quarterbacks have taken over the league. And then I say, okay, here we are 14 games into the season. Look at this list. Look at the top teams. And look at the quarterbacks that are quarterbacking those teams. Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, Drake May, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Mac Jones together in San Francisco, Justin Herbert, and Caleb Williams. And I'm like, all this black takeover, it's not at the top of the league. And again, it needs to be discussed. Well, why is that? What's going? We have all these black quarterbacks now, and everybody wants to point to racism and this and that. But and they want to champion it. And then black quarterbacks, we've tracked it all season, JB, because they started this discussion. Black starting quarterbacks have won 41% of their games this year in the NFL. And my argument it's not that they're black, it's not their skin color, it's the culture and the mindset of victimhood and challenging of authority. And as a coach, you should be able to speak to this. I feel like white quarterbacks that traditionally come from two-parent families that have a dad that disciples them, those white quarterbacks are more apt to willingly submit to the vision, philosophy of the head coach than black quarterbacks that come from these single mamas that are always telling them that they must rebel against authority. And so they never submit to a head coach. They always want to question a head coach. They always think they're smarter than the head coach. They're harder to coach, plain and simple, because they've been raised by their mama and not by a daddy. And it eventually shows up in their performance and in their ability to connect with the head coach, and it affects their performance. That's the argument. That's the conversation we've been promoting over here.
Mine's going to shock a lot of people. I've said it, I've mentioned it before on your show, but I'll give you a totality. There's a reason why I don't coach anymore, and there's a reason why they're missing me in the coaching world. There's a reason why Nick Saban, Mike Krzyzewski, and so many others trying to get out of this current landscape. Number one is the white coach, and then, I don't play victim very often, but being from Compton, coaching majority 90% of inner city black kids my entire life, never had a kid arrested after they left me. 260 kids, Division I, 28 in the NFL. And I fight back on this. Black kids will listen to a white coach before they'll listen to a black coach. Fact. Because they want the father figure to tell them the difference between right and wrong. But we have too many white coaches now accepting all this money and worried about wins only and not the kid and the kid's future. So we get the number one athlete out of high school. We take him as a quarterback, as the 5-star, just to say that, oh, my wee-wee's bigger than yours, and I out-recruited you. Let's be honest. I bring him over here to Oregon. I bring him to Alabama. I bring him to whatever. I put him in there. And at the end of the day, Kirk Cousins getting on the podium yesterday and telling the world that's gone viral, oh, it's dumbed down now because defenses got smarter and offensive quarterbacks can't figure it out. No, what happens is we don't teach anymore. So now we get to the line of scrimmage. We don't demand the quarterback to do anything. We get up to there and we say we run inside zone to the 3 technique. We run outside zone to the shade. Okay, that's our philosophy. We get up there and Lamar Jackson sees the 3 technique. It's zone check and he runs it anyway. Because he can't opposite the call because we haven't taught him the front. We haven't taught him rotation of coverage. We haven't taught him when one goes dead, who is the second read. We don't know who's hot, who's not. Where's the side adjust? We throw a card up. We give him a wristband. That Shador dropped, by the way. And then we go, hey, this guy's a freak. He'll get me out of problems. He'll get me out of a bad call, Jason. We don't develop no more. We only care about getting the 5-star kid that's the best athlete, i.e. Lamar Jackson at Louisville during his Heisman campaign. Guess what? Bad call got made, and he made 4 people miss and went up the sideline, and guess what? The coach got an extension. He got paid. Wasn't because of the play call. It's because you had the best athlete on the football field. Now what happens is, Jason, fast forward, the guy goes to the NFL where Myles Garrett and Max Crosby live, and they're the same athlete as you are. So now, if you don't know football in totality, you have been shown up as a failure. You are now a failing quarterback, especially a black one, because you were failed by the coach in high school and college. You can say all you want, but I've done deep dives into this. It is a fact because I never failed them. And guess what? I coached 19 of 21 years only having a black quarterback. 3 to the NFL, 21 Division I quarterbacks, 19 of those were black. So at the end of the day, none of them were arrested. All of them are successful, got their degrees. 13 of them are coaching Division I football currently. And I want to see anyone else's resume compared to that. I want to see current Division I coaches right now who get $3 to $10 million a year who have literally failed the 5-star black athlete quarterback. And you tell me that we're not failing them at all-time high. Because the white quarterback, to your point, yeah, we can talk about, oh, he's cerebral and he understands the cover. He's been in a system his whole entire life. Like, to your point, 2 parents paid for Youth Pop Warner, paid for all the camps, paid for all the clinics, did all the things going up. Now they understand the game in totality. But the black inner city kid is already ahead of them athletically. We get them over here. We don't teach them crap. We put up a sign of Stephen A. Smith and a rose, and that's the play. And we expect them to succeed in the NFL? Come on, man. We are failing these kids at all-time high because we care about the bag and winning games for us currently, not for their future. We want to win games and get a bigger job. We want to win games to save our job, get our family fed. The kid is a stopgap. Gets me wins, and I could care less about him in the NFL. But I'll sure claim him when he wins a Heisman. I'll sure claim him if he wins an MVP in Lamar Jackson. But guess what? Lamar Jackson's been the same Lamar Jackson since he left Louisville. He has not got better yet. Not 1 year has he improved. Mechanically, he's gotten worse. He doesn't understand the coverage. He don't know the front. You ever see him get up to the line of scrimmage, Jason, and check it? Oh, opposite. Easy. You don't see it no more. Football's so dumbed down. It is you either coach it or allow it, Jason. If you allow these kids and you think they're dumb, then guess what? They're going to be dumb. I never saw a kid. I never had a black kid not be able to understand the front, the coverage, and check a play and get me into the right one because I taught them, and they will listen if you do teach them.
JB, let me play the other side of this a little bit. There's truth to what you're saying, but there's also hey, we've cut down practice time. You have more limited access. We used to have 2.5, 3 hour practices in
3 times
my
a day.
day at Ball State. That we don't do that anymore. Things are all sped up. Then now you have social media and the mainstream media that if a head coach, and everybody knows that as a coach or a father or a mentor or a teacher, it's all played out in the school system now, that if a coach gets crossways, particularly with a black player, everybody blames the coach. Everybody. And so it's like if the coach is trying to be hard, and keep in mind, coaching kids at last chance where like this is their last chance or they're done, is different than coaching them at Wisconsin or someplace where it's like, well, if I don't make it here, I can transfer down to Southern Illinois and still play. I can transfer down to whatever, JUCO or mid-major. I can go to transfer down to Ball State and still play, blah, blah, blah. You're dealing with kids, not all the time, but their backs are against the wall. If they don't accept your coaching, they're done. These kids have options, and they have parents that will side with them if they get crossways with the coach, and they have a social media system and a media system from Ryan Clark on down that will side with them if they get crossways, particularly with a white coach. I look at what happened to Pat Fitzgerald. I look at what I've seen happen to some white coaches that quoted biblical scripture to kids, black kids. I've listened to the Northwestern kids, and I saw this ESPN article. This had to be 3 or 4 years ago. They were saying that, well, he didn't let us tap into our full blackness. He didn't let us wear our hairstyle the way that we wanted. That wasn't the Northwestern way, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like these white coaches are caught between a rock and a hard place. If they try to instill their values that they believe in, well, you're a white racist and you don't respect black values and hip hop culture and all of that. And so, yes, I do feel like they've dumbed the game down, because if they went back to old 1980s thinking and they just said, well, I got one kid who knows the playbook, understands the checks, and I got another kid that it may take me a year and a half to get him up to par on the playbook and knowing the checks. And the difference between playing the guy now and waiting a year for this guy to figure it out could cost me my job. And I don't blame any man for like, man, I got to protect my job because I got a wife and kids to answer to and responsibilities. I just think there's some form of truth in the middle of where you're at, of like, it's all the coach's fault, without recognizing that we're in an environment where these coaches can get smeared as racist for teaching what they actually believe in, for teaching the values and the approach that made them successful. And I say this as someone who arrived on a college campus with a scholarship, with coaches that thought, hey, this might be our best recruit for 1985. You can go back and look at the magazines. I was listed as one of the 2 or 3 best recruits for Ball State in that class. They had Paul Shadell, former offensive line coach at Michigan, thought, man, I got a diamond in the rough here. This kid's the best, blah, blah, blah. And I showed up an absolute headache. A headache. Locker room lawyer, out of shape, blah, blah, blah. And they went at me for 2 years. And you know what my parents said? Man, you better go in there and figure it out with them coaches, because you cannot bring your fat, lazy ass back to this house. Figure it out. But mama and daddy both said that. That's not what we do now.